Using the contour feature in Cricut Design Space can really unlock an entirely new world of layering techniques. So I'm going to show you how to take a normal image from Cricut Design Space that you can use with the basic cut feature and turn it into a layered design. My name is Kelly and let's get clacking. I've imported this picture into Design Space by using the image feature. So if you want to find a lovely image, you can click on images and search for an image that you think is useful. Once you select it, you can click Insert Image and it'll appear like this. So this is a standard basic cut image and it is only one layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the original image and I'm going to right click on the image and click Duplicate. And I'm going to work with a duplicate. So we're going to put the one off to the side and we're going to work with this one. The contour feature is located on the right-hand panel right at the bottom in the far right, bottom right-hand corner. So we can click on contour and it will open up the image in a very strange looking panel. From here, we can hover over the different sections and you will see how they light up a little bit. So if we zoom in, we can see how all of the sections where it is an enclosed line shows up as a part that we can actually click on. So if we wanted to just have the plain background, we could click Hide All Contours. Essentially what that will do is it will have the largest part of the design or the background of the design as the only contour, because one contour has to be displayed at all times. So if we exit out here, we will see that this is just the back panel. So we'll use this as one of our layers. So I'm going to duplicate this one again, and you will see that the contour feature on the duplicate is still available. Even though we've hidden the contours and duplicated the item, all of the contours are still there. What we can now do is try and figure out what we want on which layer. The idea that I have for this design is to have the leaves one color, the flowers one color, the snake one color, and maybe the belly of the snake a different color. So we're going to have 4 different colors on this design, and we can slowly start by selecting the different elements. Depending on how intricate your design is, you may want to take the approach of starting from this level where you have pretty much a blank canvas to work with, and then you just select the things that you want to have in a particular color. I'm going to be starting out with green because I want to have the leaves all showing up in green. So I'm going to select these bits here. You may also notice with this that even though the mouse is hovered over this leaf, it's actually highlighting a section of the belly, which is to the right or to the left of the mouse. So for me, that's a little bit of a bug in this contour feature. So you just have to make extra sure that you are selecting the right piece and clicking on that. Another way to select some of the sections is to use the scrolly section on the right-hand side. So you can scroll all the way down and you'll see each little part that you want to select. But for me, I'm not such a huge fan of using that section because it looks very strange and you may not know where each of the parts are. I'm a little bit more of a visual person, so I prefer to use what I can actually see as opposed to what I think is correct. Once we are sure that those are the sections that we want, we also need to make sure that we deselect the main part because we obviously don't want that part to be showing. We just want these little bits. So we can then close that and you'll see it looks a little bit strange. This is the part where I really like to make sure that I'm getting my colors correct. So I'm going to change the color on this one from black to green because I'm going to be making the leaves green. And we can even start by layering it on top of that section there. So we can start to see what it's going to look like. So we're going to move on to the next section. So I'm going to duplicate the back part of the snake again, and we're going to do the same thing with this, except I'm going to be selecting all of the flower parts that I want to have in red. In cases like this where it is sometimes tricky to select the different leaves, like as you can see, the mouse is properly in the middle of this leaf and it only shows up highlights when you kind of hold the mouse up to the top. You can also use this side section, but that might work a little bit easier if you have the picture zoomed out a little bit more so that you can more clearly tell what you're selecting and what's being highlighted and not. This is kind of like playing Minesweeper a little bit sometimes, so it's a little bit frustrating, but This is going to look amazing once it's done. And of course I choose like one of the most complicated designs to do. Duh. I think that is everything. It looks like it. Great, we can move on to the next one. Oh, I've got some extra scragglies there. Let's just deselect some of those. There we go. Now we're going to make this one red. There are some gaps in between that shouldn't be cut. So I'm just going to deselect or select those. So essentially, these sections here are the edge of the snake, but they're obviously showing up as solid lines because they are... That's kind of what they are. I mean, that one's a bit difficult because that part should be a gap in between, but it isn't. And that one should be there as well. So I'm just going to deselect those sections that should be negative space. Maybe what I'll even do with those is I'll kind of manually just cut them off when I cut the other color, because it should be negative space, but it's actually not. Does seem to sometimes just randomly select things, which is a little bit frustrating because I know that I didn't select any of these things and yet they are showing up. So that's maybe something that Cricut can look at changing or working on in the future, but it is still a great tool to use for these kinds of things. And I think that also needs to be I think that's actually the body. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, so now we can layer that one on top as well. We can see now that it's starting to take shape, which is really cool. And then again, we're going to duplicate it. And now this section is going to be the actual snake section. Okay, I just see that it's added a couple extras in there. So let's just deselect those ones that it randomly selected again. I'm definitely going to be looking back on this footage and checking to see that I actually didn't select those. But so we're going to go back onto the contour and now we're going to look at working on these little snake belly bits. Finally, we're getting somewhere. So I'm going to click hide all just to make my life a little bit easier. And then I'm going to select all of these snake bits, these markings, some of our favorite parts. It was right there. Okay, so let's see if that is all the snake bits. And I'm going to make this a goldy color because I want to see what it'll look like. Okay, so we can already see what that's going to look like, and it's going to look fantastic, I think. Now if we just compare the one with the right with the one on the left, let's zoom in a little bit. So I know that I'm going to have to cut that off a little bit, and I can see here there's something that's been lost there, and there is also a leaf that's been lost. So if we click on the green layer and we click contour, then we can maybe add in those leaves that have been lost. And obviously these ones don't have to be perfectly layered on top of each other because this is just kind of for us to see if we've missed anything. Again, like I said, I think there is something missing here. Might be some green section. So let's go back to the green and let's see if we add it, if it actually looks nice on the green. And this is again why I like to color coordinate things before I cut them, just to make sure that everything's colored correctly. It doesn't look like it should be green. It might need to be on the red layer. So if we go back to the red layer, instead of worrying about selecting the item on the canvas, you can just click on the side on the red section because obviously everything's color coordinated, so it should work out quite nicely there. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks a bit better. I would have liked to have had this white section as gold as well, or this will be gold. I'm going to be using the textured vinyl for this. I would have liked to have had that gold, but unfortunately, if we zoom in right to the tip of the tail, you'll see how it's two separate parts. So because it's not joined up, and that white line is essentially the outer lines of the other lines. If that makes any sense to you at all, it makes sense up here, so I hope. We won't be able to change that. So it will just have to do at this color, and obviously it's not cut off, it's not edged off there either, but it should be okay. I think it still looks stunning. The colors look beautiful. I don't think that I've missed anything. And then I'm going to double check my design. I see that is okay. I can cut that out when I'm layering it. And here it's randomly selected a leaf there. So let me just go back and deselect that leaf, and then we have it green again. I'm 100% happy with that. I'm going to delete this one because we don't need it anymore. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to cut it on my maker. So now when we go to the Make It panel, it will obviously ask us to prep 4 different mats. So we will be able to cut the 4 different things on the different mats. Obviously it color coordinates everything, which is fantastic. And because they're all part of the same image, we don't have to worry about attaching anything because they're technically all already attached. You know, I feel like I say this in pretty much each and every one of my videos, but at one point, I will have a video that has all of the footage perfectly recorded, perfectly everything anyway. So I ended up cutting the whole design, layering the whole design, and this is what it looks like, which is really, really beautiful. I'm super thrilled with how it turned out. There are a couple of niggly bits here and there, but I'm actually going to make a video about that because it's nice to have these problems and then kind of go over them in a video. So I'll probably make that at some point in the future about, you know, layering designs and things like that, because it can be quite tricky. Like you can see here, there are some remnants of some wax paper. But yeah, let's not get into that. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for some more craft-related tutorials in the future. And I will see you in my next video. And remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.